America has a problem.
Pick up another you call in the parking lot to sign. Are you with me? We're standing with the roof gone. I pull up like Jimmy Neutron. Then you can get a new fire. Like you haul, and I know you like to go slow.
Hi, you guys. Welcome in. Welcome. Okay. This story is crazy. All right. And let's talk about it. Imagine your mother. You're getting ready to have your child. You tell your doctor what you want to have done. Hey, listen, I just want to have an easy delivery. I want to do vaginal. I don't want a cesarean. But then in the middle of you getting ready to give birth, you get a notice that you got to go to court. You got to go to court, and the judge forces you to have a cesarean, cut you open. That's what happened to Cherise doley and to Briana. They both were sitting here getting ready. Briana, I believe, was in 2023. Cherise was in 2024. They are now both going to court about this situation. Before I play any videos, I want to read a copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976 allows is made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use prohibited by the copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, personal use tips the balance and fair use. So that is what happened. And I want to say this. Ever since they took away Roe versus Wade in 2021 and 2022, we have all thought maybe they don't have, any rights to our bodies, or they don't do this and that. Well, baby, that's been the case since 2023 and 2024. When they took away the right of having ABs by a certain time, or you may be jailed, or if you have a miscarriage or stillbirth, they question, did you really have an AB? Did you really? Was that real? We just want to make sure. And this is all under that man's thing, and people tried to get it overturned to back to where it was, and it just didn't work. So we're going to go ahead and read inside this court hearing, right? So it has went public about this court hearing. These blogs and social media has gone in a frenzy. We're going to watch a couple of videos on TikTok, and people are actually sitting here saying, listen, this happened, y'all. This what really went down. Like, they really made these women have a C-section. She had to go to Zoom court because she was refusing to have a C-section. Within her birthing plan, she wanted to have it natural. And this is why I say for women right now, if you are pregnant, get you a doula. I'm also going to show the video of a doula who was kicked out of the hospital because they forced this woman in Florida to have a C-section. It's another woman they just did this to not too long ago. And I'm going to play that as well. Hold on, let me get my TikTok together for that one. So yes. Black doulas was forced out the hospital during labor. Her husband, we're going to get into that too. It is crazy time. I understand everybody want to be parents, but yeah, we're going to get into that. So let's get into the story, y'all. After we're going to play some videos and get into it. So I'm going to read to y'all what happened, and we're going to play a video. It's difficult to put your place in put yourself in the place of Cherise doley, a pregnant mother of 3 who found herself facing a judge while in labor in the University of Florida hospital in downtown Jacksonville. She had arrived at the facility with a plan for her birth, and she wanted to try for a vaginal delivery, but she understood from years of experience as a professional birthing doula that things don't always go as planned. She arrived overnight at the hospital after her water broke. Doctors told her they were concerned about the risk of urinating rupture, a potential unaliving complication for her and her baby. She understood the risk to be less than 2% and repeatedly told the doctor she would consent. She wouldn't consent a cesarean without trying to have a vaginal delivery first when she can. Okay, and then we're gonna click on that story next. The doctors appeared to relent, leaving her to labor for several more hours. Then a nursing supervisor wheeled a tablet to her bed and informed her she was in court, the reason failing to agree to a C-section. When advocates for pregnant women say that you shouldn't lose your constitutional rights just because you conceive, this is the kind of situation they're talking about. This is a reporter based in Alabama. Throughout her career, she's focused on women facing the consequences of states' fertility personalhood policy. That's the idea that the fetus should have the same legal status as children. My investigations show how a similar theory played into the cases of two women, Cherise Doley and Briana Bennett, who experienced early similar situations in Florida. In both cases, they found themselves fighting for their rights to make medical decisions because they were pregnant. She attained a video recording of Dooley court hearing. Watching her argue her case from her hospital bed has shocked her. We're gonna play this video.
It's a real judge, you know? Yes. I'm sorry, I wasn't being hyperbolic. It's a real judge. Let me get the. Nah, this is the craziest thing I ever seen.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I know you may be able to see me on your screen in just a second here. I'll introduce myself. I do see you on. Can you hear me okay, ma'am?
Oh, yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly fine.
Let's go to Briana's story. Briana happened in Tallahassee in 2023. Sorry, y'all. So we're going to go to the facts. Unequal rights. Pregnant women in some states have fewer rights than the other mentally competent adults to refuse medical treatment, including surgery. Constitutional questions, the rise of fetal personhood policies have some legal experts worried about an increase in court-ordered medical care. Florida disparities. Florida has gone further than in other states to guarantee medical freedom for those who decline vaccines, but has also restricted the medical freedom of pregnant women. Hey, in her hospital bed, yes. On the afternoon of September 9th, 2024. Give me 1 minute, y'all. Please give me a minute. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I had to get me some water. Okay. Cherise Doley was in her 12th hour of contractions at the University of Florida Health in downtown Jacksonville, where a nurse came in with a bed sheet and told her to cover up. A supervisor brought her a tablet to her bedside. Gathered on screen were a judge in a black robe and several lawyers and doctors and hospital staff. She say it's a real judge in there. Dooley asked the nurse at the beginning of what could be the 3-hour hearing. Now, this is the craziest thing I ever seen. Dooley had asked for the hearing. The hospital had sought it. Dooley had mere minutes to prepare. She had no lawyer and no advocate and no one to explain to her exactly what was going on. Judge Michael Cowley confirmed that the state had an emergency file petition at her bedside. At her bedside. And basically, he, they was at the hospital, but he said, out of concern for her, that Percy, but in the interest of her unborn child, he described the circumstances as extraordinary. So basically, I was hearing a lot of Black women in the comments when I saw this on blogs. And they say, so what you trying to do, rearrange her? Black women right now are very cautious of certain things right now because of what we know the times we're in. And they feel like you'll do anything to hurt me. And this was uncalled for. And let me tell you why. She's a doula. She's helped giving birth. She knows what her body gonna do and not do. So she didn't have nobody explain to her what was going on. But he saw fit that if something happens to the child because of the Roe versus Wade and the consequences that they have with doctors and OBGYNs now, that they would go to jail, or nurses if they help women who are bleeding profusely, if they had an AB or a miscarriage, they want to see if you really had one. They're trying to penalize them. They're trying to penalize them because this country wants to force you to have children. I don't think that's the land of the free for anybody to really to lay on your back and have multiple children to put money in their pockets. The hospital state attorney of office wanted to force doula to undergo a cesarean section. Doley, a professional birthing doula, didn't want that and had been firm about it. She had 3 prior C-sections, one that resulted in a hemorrhage, and hoped to avoid another serious complication, which she can. They would have to navigate her through it. And my friend had 2 cesareans, and because her baby was coming, she had her last child, she had a vaginal. In hope to avoid another serious complication and lengthy recovery. She was aware that the doctors were concerned about the risk about the her area rupture, a potential deadly complication of her and her baby. You would say during the hearing that she had understood the risk to be less than 2% and didn't want to agree to a C-section unless there was an emergency. And then she goes, the person that wrote this says that mentally competent patients typically has the right to choose their medical care or refuse it. So anyone that is not mentally well, that is mentally stable, I apologize, mentally stable can choose it, and that is true. When we go to our OBGYNs, we have the choice to say, hey, do you want a cesarean or do you want a vaginal? Do you want to, they ask you questions. Did you have a miscarriage? Did you have a stillborn? How long was it when you had your cesarean? What were the complications? So they can guide you through it. That is the job of an OBGYN. But for the hospital to say, oh no, we're going to override what you say and we're going to go over here. We don't want that on us because we don't want to go to jail. So we're going to force you to do something you don't want to do. We understand. Hey, somebody, wifey, we understand. We understand. Hey, we understand that you don't want a cesarean. It's very much a lot. But can you just go ahead and have the baby with a cesarean? She had the right to choose. I'm just gonna sum it up. So the person that did this article, they talked to someone who works at bioethics at the University of Virginia School of Law. And she said there aren't other instance where you would have invade the body of one person in order to save the life of another. This is the same thing they did to the young lady in Georgia. The baby is doing well. He has some things going on, but he's getting better. They kept that young woman who was already going to glory in the hospital bed on a machine. And they inspect the mother of that woman while she has to take care of a child, a baby, to pay the hospital bills. I'm not understanding what y'all got going on here. But okay. Florida and many other states court-ordered medical procedures are just one of the ways pregnant patients' rights are restricted. The effort to chip away at those rights is rooted in the concept of fetal personhood, that a fetus has equal and in some cases more rights than women sustaining it. The link between the fetal personhood and court-ordered C-section dates back to 1980s, when the court started ruling that hospitals can override patients' decision in the favor of the health of unborn children. In the years since, the proponents of fetal personhood began to push for even broader legal protections. In 1986, Minnesota was the first state to recognize fetuses as victims in homicide cases. In some states have imprisoned women for exposing their fetus to drugs. Nearly 30 states have passed laws that allow hospitals to invalidate pregnant patients' advance directives, which outline the kind of life-sustaining treatment a person wants after a catastrophic illness or accident. At least one Alabama extended the concept of personhood all the way to the earliest stages of fertilization and conception by giving frozen embryos the same legal status as statues as children. Though the legislator later said the law couldn't be enforced. We're going to get into Roe versus Wade, y'all. Very important. I don't know how many young girls I have in here. I don't know how many moms I have in here or women, but this is a conversation we do need to start having right now during this time as well. Because when it comes to our children and our bodies, they are trying to take away our rights of what we want the best for our children. With my baby girl, they told me I had to have a C-section because I stopped dilating for a few hours. I felt so, yes. Yep. And I think this is a conversation we need to have. I hope I do have a lot more subscribers. I would love a lot of my subscribers to be in for this. But a lot of people watching, because this is a conversation we need to have as women as well. I've talked about how they're trying to force things in our children's schools. We got to have this conversation. Men, I want you guys in here as well. This is important. They're stripping rights from you. Okay. And the fetal personhood movement has accelerated in the past several years, subcharged by the U.S. Supreme Court decision to reverse the abortion rights, AB right, that been protected by Roe versus Wade. Florida has been long at the forefront of fetal personhood policies. The state was one of the first in the country to prosecute a woman, for delivering drugs to her fetus during pregnancy in 1989. Although the Florida Supreme Court later overturned her conviction after advocates twice failed to get a fetal personhood amendment on the state ballot. The legislature is now considering a bill that would enshrine the concept in state law by giving embryos and fetuses the same legal status as a person in wrongful death suits. For women in labor, the potential impact of the bill is clear. Experts anticipate that medical needs could be further diminished in favor of the fetus. Several legal experts told ProPublica, shout out to them, they are alarmed by Doley's case in that the legislation potentially to allow for more court interventions during childbirth. Lawyers who represent women in fetal personhood cases already have identified a higher number of forced C-sections in Florida than any other state. In Florida, I'm gonna say this as well. I wish people stop policing women's bodies because y'all don't understand the stress of carrying a child. Y'all don't understand how offensive it is to, and I've talked about this before, where I got a letter from the state of Georgia and from that orange man with the diaper to ask me to send them paperwork if my stillborn was real. And this is what I said, and I never got asked this again. I told my caseworker, I said, can you write this down for me? He said, absolutely. Let me tell you this. And I said this and I recorded and everything. I promise for God. I never forget. I said, you as the government have my information and my medical records of what happened to me. Don't you ever in your life ask me again after I just lost my child. Why don't you go through the medical records as y'all got access to anything and look for it? I never received a letter ever again in my life that left me alone. Let me tell you something. Stop sitting here worrying about what a woman's body can do to benefit you. We're not laying with you. That's between us and our partner. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing. To sit here and tell women that if they can't do embryos or freeze their eggs or anything to help them have children is wild, because they believe laying on your back is a purpose. And this is why I keep telling and keep saying, laying on your back is not a purpose. It's great, but you have to have something else. Just laying on your back and having a child is not an accomplishment. Raising, teaching, being there, emotionally available, protection is an accomplishment. Making sure they go and graduate, become something in life is an accomplishment. Laying on your back, having multiple children and trapped men is not nothing to be proud of. Okay? Where we at in life and where we are right now, they want to make sure they have a connection to your child that you are connected with in your womb. Crazy work. Crazy work. The state attorney office for the 4th Judicial Circuit declined to comment on Doley's case, saying a response would violate her medical privacy. But you didn't mind giving her, you know what? This is going on. This is Briana with her daughter. That is Doley with her child. A hospital in Georgia in 1980s when a court ordered to force a woman with a dangerous pregnancy complication to have a C-section. In 1987, a judge in Washington approved a request to perform surgery on a pregnant woman dying from cancer without her consent. Later, a higher court reversed that ruling and held that hospitals should not have override medical decisions. In Illinois, appellate court, in 1993, refused to order a woman to undergo a C-section. Illinois is the only state, I believe, that will let you have control over your body. As I'm going to keep referring to the Romika case, as we talked about with Holly, allegedly she got whatever she had to get done because she didn't want to have her child behind bars, and they gave her that right. It's very alarming. This is why a lot of people have said we were going backwards, and make sure you read what you voted for, because we are continuing. Now, I feel like we're in the 90s and the 80s with the issues. We're not where we were before, where we have gotten ahead. And controlling women's bodies is crazy work. I always tell y'all, you have to look at a man that has child syndrome and have control issues and think they're peaky of the brain and want to take over the world like they're five, who look at all his marriages where one of his ex-wives came out and said he was controlling. And a lot of women say he's controlling, and look where he at now. It's controlling. He wants to control everybody. It's like they're puppets on the string. Pay attention. Okay, it's very, very out there. Not long after a patient named Laura Penburton, who did not want a C-section, left the hospital in Tallahassee, Florida, against medical advice. A local judge law enforcement to her house to bring her back. Once she returned to the hospital, the judge ordered her to have C-section, which doctors carried out. She later sued in the federal court and lost. The 1999 decision by the federal district judge found that the state had a right to override her wishes. Whatever the scope of Ms. Penburton's personal constitution right to the situation, they clearly did not outweigh the interest of the state of Florida in preserving the life of an unborn child. The decision marked a legal turning point in prioritizing fetal rights over the religious freedom and bodily anatomy of the woman. In 2009, Samantha Burton arrived at the same hospital at 25 weeks pregnant, and after going into premature labor, doctors told her she had to remain on bed rest, but she wanted to leave and go home to her children. The hospital got a court order for her to remain in the hospital and undergo any treatment doctors deemed necessary to save the fetus. She had an emergency C-section and the baby was stillborn. Hey, Sexy Ray. She had an emergency C-section and the baby was born and stillborn in 2009. She upheld the ruling. Let me say this before we get into this. I don't know if a lot of y'all understand how stillborns and miscarriages are very traumatizing, especially stillborns. I had one. That was the most traumatic experience of my life. To have a child come out of you, they put a thing up in your area and it makes you go into active labor, and to have a child. I had my child, my last son. This is why I don't want another one. I was laying in bed and my baby came out of me just in bed. I called the nurse to come. They took him. They made sure it was very traumatic. People don't understand the feeling like, oh my God, what is wrong with my body? What is wrong? And I understand that feeling because I went through that and I always understood like that is just the worst thing. I sat in bed wondering what was wrong with my body. Why I couldn't keep my baby. Why, what was wrong? What's going on? Like, I will never forget, I cried. My sister was like, listen, you got to get up. I was like, no. I had just lost my mother 4 months prior. After I had my stillborn, I lost my father 2 weeks. So when I got that letter, I was pissed the F off already. I was told that my dad won't be resuscitated. He caught the 2020 disease, put it that way. And that just put tears in my eyes. My dad was a diabetic, high blood pressure. Same with my mom. They were doing great. Their bodies were getting great. And all of a sudden, here come Mr. Chaos. And I was pissed to hear the things that he said. I was upset. I was angry. I had so much built up anger to the point that all I wanted to do was be outside all the time. Like outside drinking, right? And I thought, well, maybe I can start again. My son, I waited 10 years. My son was 10. My son was ready to be a brother. He was ready not to be the only sibling. And now that he's about grown, hell no. It was traumatic. I don't think I want to go through that again. And right now, I think it's best, right, in the time we in, not to go through. So I understand what these women feel, especially the woman that lost her child that was a stillborn. It's very traumatic to go through not hearing your baby and seeing your baby not move and hold your child for the last time. And it's something that was helping you go through something be ripped from you. And I understand that. So to sit here and send a letter or put people in jail for something that's so traumatic is crazy to me. And for you women who agree to this, it pissed me off a lot because you don't understand how hard it is to sit here and wonder what the fuck is going on with my body. Why? And then to hear women say, oh, I don't want to have it because the man not around. Girl, grow some balls. Put your big girl panties on and shut the F up. It's very traumatic. I don't wish that on nobody. Some women would love to carry a child and can't. And then you want to ask, oh, do you not know how that feels? Something that you wanted or you felt like it was a blessing to have. And you got heifers on here who don't mind having plenty of them and want to make a storyline about giving up a child or unaliving a child. Oh, my body works. That is very offensive. And you see the women ha-haing crazy. Welcome to your karma, what you voted for. Because y'all really finna see how this finna feel. Y'all think it's a joke. It is sad. And the stress it has on the men at the same time. Because this is what they want with you. They want to, and it's disheartening. That is a very traumatic experience. I don't wish that on anyone. Taking care of a child through postpartum by yourself is traumatic. Having not be able to wash your tail, breastfeed, change diapers, go through ups and downs, the baby crying, you don't know what's wrong, you don't have help. Traumatic. It's not as glamour as y'all try to make it seem. It's a lot. Your body changing. Your body trying to get back to what it was. Your body is going different ways. Yeah, life is precious. And it's like, you kind of like, okay, I got to do this. Some women are just not capable of being mothers, and forcing them to do something they're not capable of is abuse. I'm sorry. I said it. It's abuse. You're trying to force something on somebody that is not capable of being a mama. What you should have been forcing them is not to sit here and make children. That's what you should be doing, the ones that aren't capable. The women that put men above their kids, not capable. No emotional attachment, you're not capable. Like this is, and Florida should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely ashamed. And y'all keep voting for the same bullshit and wonder why I'm going through this with my child. They trying to take my baby. I wonder why. It's right in the fine print. You gotta be kidding me. She upheld the ruling granting the emergency order, and the Florida appeals court ruled in her favor. They said the circuit judge should have required the hospital to prove the baby was viable before exposing unwanted treatment, but the court stopped that short of saying it was unacceptable to override the medical decisions of pregnant women in all situations. Pregnancy is the only condition where Florida courts have ruled that the patient can be forced to undergo unwanted treatment. Even a state prisoner, that is true, on a hungry strike might have rights, more rights, that is absolutely true, to make medical decisions. That is true. Women who are mentally unstable can make decisions on how they want their baby to be born than people that are mentally stable. That is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. That's very abusive. That's psychotic. That's weird. Why would you give a mentally unstable woman or a woman that's on hungry strike in prison more up to, what she want to do with her child than a woman that is mentally stable or that's free to her body? Oh man, this is crazy. Pregnancy is the only condition where, as ruled, yeah, those rulings give the state vast control over pregnant women. As all of it is essential, it's about the state's ability to decide that a fetus at any point during the pregnancy is more important than a person who's pregnant. The fetus, children can't make decisions. So you saying a child making the decision that what? This is great. Child, I cannot. You're saying that the child, oh, look at her. She's so gorgeous. Oh. And she's 1 year old, y'all. She'll be 2. Look at her. Oh, and there go Bennett's daughter. Oh. She say she pretend the floor is lava. Oh. In 2023, Dola, more than a year before Dola's court order, C-section, we're going into Briana. Briana Bennett had her child at the Tallahassee hospital. Briana arrived in labor at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, the same hospital where a woman in 1999 and 2009 lawsuits had given birth. Okay? Over the preceding years, Bennett had come to question the medical reasons behind her 3 prior C-sections. Each recovery had been harder than the last, leaving her so incapacitated after the third one for 2 weeks, she couldn't even go to the bathroom without help. Let me say this. Cesarean is very hard. I have heard some women say that they have had ruptures, and they don't want to go through that again because some women had to go back to the hospital to get it re-sewn up, and they have to be in bed a little longer. They say it's very hard to heal. Everything hurts. I've heard a lot. It was like, I've never had one, okay, but they say it's hard. It's hard. At the time, Bennett was into labor with her 4th. Her mother's hip problem had gotten so bad that she needed a wheelchair and required some help for Bennett to function. And that's why Bennett said she wanted to have a vaginal birth. Tallahassee Memorial Hospital specialists on staff and had a neonatal. My package is at the door. Neonatal, which you can have one. Intensive care unit equipped to serve the critical ill babies. Hold on, y'all. Give me a minute. So, which they have, to help have the baby, right? Bennett believed it offered the kind of support she needed to be able to follow her birth plan. The hospital had handled a lot of high-risk pregnancies. As Bennett labor stretched past 24 hours, a doctor confronted her about agreeing to a C-section. Bennett said she continued to refuse, so the hospital reached out to the state attorney in an email. Jack Campbell, in the state attorney for the Second Judicial Circuit, responded that the court needed to act quickly. I plan to file an emergency motion with the court to allow TMH to take whatever steps medically necessary to protect the life of the child and the mother, he wrote. During the hearing, 15 to 20 people squeezed into Bennett's hospital room. As what later happened with Doley, she found herself in front of a tablet with a judge on the screen. They basically came up with the thing to make her have a C-section. She said she tried to remain calm, but inside she was panicking, and they had her have her C-section. She said she cried every day because she felt like she was supposed to be happy and thankful to have a new life. This is sad. I'm not gonna read all of that, but they have the research and the risk of the urinary rupture at the primary C-sections is unclear. Now, this is more higher than having a vaginal. 0 to 15% to 2.3%. These labors results in rupture depending on a number of factors such as body mass, a history of successful vaginal births, and whether the labor was or had to be done. Okay, we're gonna get into some videos. That's a pretty long article. But yeah, they're talking about Black bodies and, the things that we go through as Black women in this country when it comes to childbirth, Black and brown women. And it's a lot. It's a lot. There are women right now who are postpartum getting shipped from the immigration detention center after having children. It should not be like that. Let's get into this.
These two women in Florida were forced to have a C-section that they didn't want. Hi, my name is Mel. I'm a fourth-year medical student. I'm going to be an OBGYN. Forced C-sections are the direct result of fetal personhood laws because this is what happens when you prioritize the well-being of the fetus over the well-being of the mother or pregnant person. That prioritization makes it awful easy to go down the slippery slope of forced procedures and forced major abdominal surgery. This is one of the very few areas in medicine where mentally competent patients lose their right to choose their own medical care. This happened to Cherise Doley and Briana Bennett. They aren't the first case of this, and we're going to talk about several other cases because we have a long history in this country of forcing women to undergo surgical procedures because they were pregnant. Doley was in her 12th hour of labor when she was put on a Zoom, made to stand in front of a judge while she was laboring in her hospital room. She didn't want the hearing. She had minutes to prepare with no lawyer, no advocate, and no one to explain what was happening. Let's be clear, she was medically stable enough for them to call an entire court hearing. She understood the risk of laboring. She understood the risks of uterine rupture, and she didn't want a C-section unless it was an emergency. Doley is a professional birth doula and understands that C-sections come with risk. She was ordered to have one anyway. Similarly, Briana Bennett was forced to have a court hearing on a tablet in front of a judge with the judge on the screen ordering her to have a C-section despite her repeated refusals. She had had 3 prior C-sections and had family members and a newborn that she knew she was going to have to take care of and didn't want to go through a major abdominal surgery again. Florida is also one of the first in the country to prosecute a woman for delivering drugs to her fetus during a pregnancy in 1989. And in 1996, there was a court case, Pemberton v. Tallahassee, where Laura Pemberton was forced to undergo a C-section against her will. She had been laboring at home and had gone to the hospital to get IV fluids. She wanted a VBAC, and instead of that, they forced her to a court while she was laboring, then forced her onto a gurney, forced her into the hospital, and strapped her down and forced her into surgery, all without any vital abnormalities, no medical emergency. Finally, there's the case of Angela Carter, who in 1987 was dying of cancer, was 26 weeks pregnant on a ventilator. Her family didn't want her to undergo a C-section. The judge ordered an emergency C-section that ended with her baby dying 2 hours after the operation, and she died 2 days later. We need to respect a pregnant person's bodily autonomy. These two...
Sorry, guys.
Women in Florida are having their medical autonomy stripped from them while in labor. And it's only happening to Black women. Surprise, surprise! A new report highlights 2 stories of women, both Black women, in labor in the state of Florida. who had their doctors, while in active labor, go to a judge to take away their medical autonomy rights, their ability to make their own medical decisions, and force them into having surgical births. Both of the mothers, who were previous C-section mothers who did not want to go through that again, opting to have VBACs, in a country where Black women are 4 times more likely to die during childbirth because of this bullshit. So tell me more about how the state of Florida is free and you can make your own medical decisions. Oh, I'm sorry. That's only when it comes to vaccines. If you just so happen to be a laboring mom who has a thought process of your own, they will literally go to court and bully you into doing what they think or what they want.
We are in the Handmaid's Tales. And yeah.
For you. So if you were thinking about having a baby in the state of Florida, I think again.
So I just read the most disturbing story of forced medical C-section on ProPublica.org, and I want to get into it. So let me take my bonnet off. So this is the story about 2 women who pretty much had babies in the state of Florida. One was in 2023 and one was in 2024. These women have both had either C-sections or vaginal births before, and they made it as part of their birth plan to labor and to deliver their babies vaginally. One of the women, her name is Cherise Doyle. She is a certified doula and was very adamant about advocating for her birth plan. And the other young lady, Briana Bennett, was just kind of running into where her fetal heart rate was going up. And the nurses and doctors were trying to encourage her to have a C-section. And I guess with her continuously telling them no, they got a court order, an immediate and emergent court order. These women are laboring in the bed. One lady had lawyers, and I'll show the video. One lady had lawyers and court-appointed, I guess, other persons in this hearing. And she was like, is this really happening? Like the nurses bring the tablet in and she's having a court hearing about them ordering her to have a C-section. Where the other young lady remembered having 15 to 20 people in her room in order to do the court order proceedings. Ultimately, both women were forced in the state of Florida to have a C-section against their will. So in the state of Florida, they have fetal personhood. And that overrides the birth plan, or it overrides the rights of that pregnant mom. Mind you, both of these women are Black. Both of these women had other children, and both of these women could have easily been another statistic as it relates to infant and maternal mortality, right? Because C-section comes with its own set of risks. Young lady, Cherise Doyle, was worried about a uterine hemorrhage, which she had experienced in a prior C-section. Other young lady, Briana Bennett, she ended up needing a wound vac because they had to go through so much scar tissue. So I'll insert, it's just a 24-second video of Miss Cherise Doyle's court proceeding. And literally she's sitting in the hospital bed, in the hospital gown, hooked up to the monitors, hooked up to the fetal monitor. Again, she is also a certified doula, and she's in disbelief and she's laboring, and they absolutely forced her to have a C-section.
It's a real judge, you know? Yes. I wasn't being hyperbolic. It's a real judge. Let me get this is the craziest thing I ever seen.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I know you may be able to see me on your screen in just a second here. I'll introduce myself. I do see you on. Can you hear me okay, ma'am?
Oh, yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly fine.
In my decade of nursing, I have never, and I've never worked labor and delivery, but I did work emergency room. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of women being forced into a C-section. So if there are nurses in Florida, or if there are medical folks in Florida who can explain it to us a little bit better, please get in the comments and do it, because this is very disturbing. If I'm still in my childbearing years, but I'll never have another baby. Not under this administration, not with the exclusion of Roe v. Wade, not with the way that, women have to go cross country for medical abortions, or to, just fight for their right to live. And I hope that this brings awareness to not only these two young ladies' story, but also other young women who have not spoken up but have had this happen to them. So spread it, repost it, please do all the things.
Now, That's not even the only telling thing. The another telling thing. Oh wait, hold on. I want to show y'all this. Hold on. This is tell you everything you need to know. This is why I be looking at women when they be like, oh, especially black women. I voted for him. What?
Florida judges are literally being called into delivery rooms 12th hour of contractions when a nurse came in and handed her a bed sheet and told her to cover up. Then
That ain't the only thing that's telling. So a woman was at the hospital, I believe in Georgia. She is a doula. She was there with a doula. Her doulist came. Her husband was not going to be there. He had to come in from a flight. And the doula was there for support. I'll let y'all see the rest.
The doctor wants everybody going.
So the doctor is creating a law to where she can no longer have a support person? I'm currently at Piedmont Henry Hospital in Stockbridge, Georgia. We are being forced as her support people to leave a room right now by a doctor and another public officer.
So this mother's gonna have to be here by herself to have her baby?
You guys can come back in the morning, okay?
So she's gonna give birth in this
You
room
can
without
come back
anybody
in
in
the
the room
morning.
with her?
What is it? Why do we have to leave and come back in the
You really
morning?
about to
I've already
witness?
explained this,
I
okay?
wanna
I'm not gonna say
understand
it
this.
again.
I can stop recording, but what is the reason why I have to leave? She's the patient and she's asking you a question.
Your patient's asking you a question.
At this point, no, ma'am. The doctor wants everybody going.
So the
other than
doctor is
department.
creating a law to where she can no longer have a support person? Can we please get
This
a,
is policy, ma'am.
Let's read it. No patient left alone at. She could sue. During the 2024 legislative session, the Georgia General Assembly passed the No Patient Left Alone Act, which was signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp himself on May 6, 2024, and made it effective July 1st, 2024. The legislation establishes visitation rights for individuals admitted to the hospital in long-term care facilities. Explain to me, why is he going against the law as well as the doctor? And why were the officers agreeing to it? I smell a lawsuit in the state of Georgia. I smell a lawsuit to that hospital. I don't know who the donors are. I don't know what happened. We are going to go to Full Blooming Birthing page. And what I'm going to do is see if she can find some of these donors and see if they can actually stop donating to them at this point. Because what? Who helped build the hospital? They have rights too. I mean, they won't. I don't think they would love for the hospital they're donating to mistreat anyone, right? Especially when it's been a past law since July 1st, 2024.
okay, but the law trumps the policy.
This is policy.
Can we please get a patient advocate,
After
please?
a certain hour in this hospital, there is only one visitor allowed.
She's gonna be in this room by herself.
5 hours with no pain medication.
The doctor wants everybody going.
So the
other than
doctor is
department. The doctor wants everybody going.
So the
other than
doctor is
department.
creating a law to where she can no longer have a support person? I'm currently at Piedmont Henry Hospital in Stockbridge, Georgia. We are being forced as her support people to leave a room right now by a doctor and another public officer. She's requesting, we're not medically interfering. We're literally, she can speak for herself.
That is their job, y'all.
The doctor wants everybody going.
Let me go. I want to see if we have any updates. Oh, they was on the news.
The baby, because they asked the baby to leave, so she'll be here giving birth all by herself.
Our doula client, who we're supporting, is desiring to have us here.
From the nurses, I'm
Yes,
gonna
sir.
have to ask you both to leave.
Under what grounds
She has
are
no
you
work.
asking?
Visitation privilege.
So her
And I
husband.
Let's go to the 2 visitors and a doula, if applicable, may be present in a labor room at one time. Why are you forcing them to leave? They, by state law, Georgia state law, they didn't have to leave.
To get the policy on the visitation.
Before you make that
But if
decision.
competing with care and the nurses, then it becomes an issue.
How are we
So
impeding with
it
her
is-
care?
I'm not gonna get into that. That's what the
So
nurses
she's
are
by herself.
telling
Her
me.
husband's gone with the baby because they asked the baby to leave. So she'll be here giving birth all by herself. He had to leave with his daughter.
Mhm.
So that means she's going to be in this room
So
all by
why
herself.
couldn't one of you or both of you leave
Because
with
she
the child?
She's requesting, we're not medically interfering. We're
just
literally
family
sitting here.
support.
But
So
because
that
we're
would-
sitting here now, all of a sudden we're medically interfering and we have to leave?
That's
Our-
my understanding.
But she has no one.
How is that
The
understanding?
nurse is right there.
I've been making my own decisions and making my own consent.
What did we have?
We
no
have done
power.
nothing.
She has a mouth. We're just here to support her, giving her hip squeezes. She's going to be in this room by
I've been
herself.
here 5 hours with no pain medication whatsoever.
We are not
She's
speaking
impatient.
for her.
When it comes to medical, I don't get involved.
She's going to be in this room by herself to give birth.
She can speak for herself. They have no grounds to put us out of this room. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband's gone with the baby because they asked
Oh.
the baby to leave. So she'll be here giving birth.
Now to a story you'll see only here on 11 Alive, a video floating around social media causing a lot of conversation when it comes to people's and patients' rights in the hospital. 11 Alive's Chase Howell spoke to 2 women who say they were wrongly removed from a Metro Atlanta hospital.
You're being forced as her support people to leave a
Now to a story you'll see only here on 11 Alive, a video floating around social media.
Sorry,
Yeah, causing a lot of conversation when it comes to people's and patients' rights in the hospital. 11 Alive's Chase Howell spoke to 2 women who say they were wrongly removed from a Metro.
And to the guy, Cody G, that said that this was false reporting under this post, how can you know you are not a doctor, you are not a nurse? And if you are a nurse, you should be fired because you are under HIPAA law telling this woman's business.
Atlanta hospital.
You're being forced as her support people to leave a room right now.
A debacle between 2 birthing doulas and hospital staff at Piedmont Henry Hospital. Shira Lawrence and Jatim McKinney are the women in the videos. They're birthing doulas, or in other words, people who advocate and educate mothers-to-be. And according to Lawrence and McKinney, they were kicked out of the delivery room by medical staff and security while their client was in active labor.
Is it my choice while I'm being in the delivery room? How many people can I have?
Who you just heard in that video was the woman they were caring for, telling staff she wants them in the room. But despite her wishes, they were removed.
We were stripped of our rights. It felt like we weren't safe. It felt like anything could have happened to us, and there was no one to advocate or help us. And that's the job we show up to do, is to help others.
Lawrence and McKinney says it all started over the mother's delivery preferences. They say the mom wanted to deliver the baby naturally, but because they say the baby was flipped around, the doctor was adamant on having a C-section.
She has the right to personal autonomy of her body. And she said, I don't want to be cut. I want to labor and do my best to have this baby vaginally. And she deserves that right.
To be clear, they say the mother was not refusing care by any means and that both the baby and mom weren't having any medical issues.
Please. After a certain hour in this hospital, there is only one visitor allowed.
The doulas say that was hospital staff telling them they were being removed because of its visitor policy. But according to Piedmont Henry Hospital's labor and delivery visitor policy, 2 visitors and a doula, if applicable, may be present in the labor room at one time. I did reach out to Piedmont Hospital to get its side of the story, and a spokesperson got back to me and says, well, they don't comment on specific cases because of patient privacy. Their priority is enabling good outcomes for patients by providing safe and quality care.
Safe and quality care doesn't mean taking the support people that she hired to come into a space and support her and advocate for her and love on her in this experience and to put them out.
Reporting, Chase Howell, 11 Alive News.
Child. Wow, they gave her a C-section when she was 10 centimeters dilated. Wow. That is crazy. So y'all, that's listen, I'm gonna say this. Having a child is a blessing, but I be concerned when I hear people pregnant at this time. I really do. I really do. And I feel like it's a hush thing and a lack of education of letting these women know about their rights because I feel like they don't, you basically don't have any anymore. You just a person that give birth. You're a mother that gives birth. That's your job. You're supposed to. Um, I will keep y'all. I don't know if, listen, it's okay to wait a little bit to have a child. It's okay. Right now in this time, it's okay. We were doing the groundwork, and I saw a lot of people doing the groundwork and getting things passed for women, especially Black women who have the highest rates of unaliving childbirth. And now the groundwork has really suffered. It suffered a little bit to me. But anywho, I want to thank you guys for watching. That's all I have for now. I will be back at 8 or 8:30 for Late Live Saturday. We're going to have some fun, child. It's going to be a little lengthy. We're going to talk about our good celebrity talk, and then we're going to get into the tea about Nika, because from what I'm hearing about Miss Nika, that the daughter don't shower. Like, what's with that? So I know we were serious today and share some sad content, but we're going to get up and end it on a good note on some great fun and content. I want you guys to get you some drinks, some snacks. Make sure the kids in bed. Yes, I know some of y'all don't go out. If you plan to go out later, that's fine. It's okay. Watch the replay. We're going to have us some fun tonight. I'm going to pick what words can be a what would be a one of our words to take a drink. Whoop, 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 whoop. It's the weekend. The spring is here. Yay. Hey, spring. And we're going to have us some good old drinks tonight. Okay. It's been a lot. Ladies, be mindful, be careful, take care of yourself. Men, take care of yourselves and you guys' mental health. I don't know if I have some men subscribers, but if y'all want me to talk about men's mental health as well, let me know. I do not mind. I do not mind. I will be glad to talk about that as well. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.